bad and good news today for Tesla stock. Let's start with the bad. Troy unfortunately lowered his delivery estimate for this quarter. Now it is only 412,000 deliveries versus analyst consensus of 428,000. Troy went down from 421,000, and he updated his Patreon today, and it's not looking good. But still, this is likely to be the best quarter that Tesla has had so far ever. We also have this 3.15% discount today for Tesla stock. One reason is, if you look, for example, at used car prices, they are going up. This is the largest price increase in February since 2009. But how does that affect Tesla stock price? Well, you look at what's going on with interest rates, and you can see that just recently, the expectations were that the rates are going to be lower. So look right here, and you can see here, previous day, this had a 71.6% chance of happening, and now it basically flipped. Now the rate is going to be higher. And you look at EV stocks, and it's just, everything is down. Look at Rivian, down 14.5% in one single day. Rivian is trying to raise money, and the market is not liking that. But today, everything is down. So it's actually a little bit surprising that Tesla stock is not down more. One likely reason why Tesla stock is not down more is because you look at the numbers from China, and they look actually pretty good. Ideally, it would have been 15,000, but this is pretty good, especially if a trend continues like that. This is a good number. This number actually beat Gary Black's expectation, so it actually looks pretty good. James is saying not bad but not great, puts the quarter at about 70,000 for domestic sales in China. Still a chance for a flat quarter over quarter, which would probably end up being ahead of the market quarter over quarter rate. But if you compare year over year numbers, they look pretty good, although the average selling prices are going to be lower because of the price cuts. But the macro environment in China right now is not exactly great. And now this is where it gets a little bit good. Look right here. This is data for BYD sales, and you want to pay attention specifically to the Seal. This is an all-electric vehicle, no plug-in hybrids, just pure battery electric vehicles. And in all of December, BYD sold 15,378 of them. Divide this number by 31 days in December, and we get about 500 per day, and that is 3,500 per week. And look at what is happening to this vehicle, which, by the way, is a direct competitor to the Tesla Model 3. Wheelsboy on YouTube says that the BYD Seal is the new benchmark. And yet the sales for this model last week collapsed to 1,100 per week. Is it really the benchmark? Meanwhile, Tesla delivered 13,266 Model 3s and Ys. So clearly then the Chinese consumers are presented with an option between a Tesla or a BYD. They clearly go with a Tesla. And BYD is cutting prices. And note that these weak sales for BYD come after the price cuts. They didn't cut the prices for the Seal, but they did cut the prices for the Han model, which also had weak sales. So that was good news. And here you can see deliveries in China based on the insurance data. And this year we are clearly ahead of last year. If you like charts, you may pause right now. This chart is a little bit more useful to analyze. So if you look at the last quarter, we were ahead by this time, but in Q1 last quarter and other quarters, specifically in China, if we compare these two to the current quarter, right now it's actually looking pretty good. And looking at this one, there's a good reason to believe that we could do fairly well, perhaps still. If you look at the current quarter in this color here, you can see that the blue quarter is Q4. And we are just a little bit ahead right now, right here. So if this continues, then that would perhaps bring a possibility that Tesla would beat Q4. The reason why there were not that many sales in Q4 is because people were not buying the cars anymore and the inventory built out. There was quite a bit of inventory that was unsold, specifically unsold at the end of the last quarter. Specifically, 27,000 vehicles were unsold in China. So if we assume that this quarter is going to continue more like every other quarter in the past, then the sales should pick up if the price cuts indeed are very effective. Tesla is up about 21% year over year, year to date, while the whole market in China, the auto market, is down 16% year over year based on data from this website. So we may have some fluctuations here, but Tesla so far is figuring it out all right. Ross Gerber sold some Tesla stock today, not much though. Keep in mind, this is just his ETF, and I think all of Gerber Kawasaki owns something like $80 million worth of Tesla stock, but he did cut. He manages Tesla based on allocation. His allocation is, I think, about 8.5%, so it went over that, and that's why he sold. At least that's what Ross said today on a podcast, but when I look at Tesla stock, if that was the case, why not sell it here, for example? If it's managed based on having Tesla stock at 8.5% all the time, then it clearly exceeded that over here. Why not sell it here? Either way, I don't see that as a big deal. That's what fund managers do. Morgan Stanley today interviewed Elon Musk. I highly recommend that you watch it if you haven't yet. It's the video before this one, so just go into my channel and find the video before this one and you'll find it. But here are some of my personal key takeaways. Number one, which Farzad didn't really put in there, is that clearly Elon wants the next vehicle to be a pure robotaxi. I don't think he wants it to be a mass market vehicle for people that would look like a Model 3, but maybe a little bit smaller. I think it will look more like a robotaxi, whatever that means. It will be designed to be a robotaxi first, is what he is saying, basically. He didn't say it exactly directly like that, but that's what I got from that. Then the next big thing was that he thinks Twitter is going to be profitable relatively soon. Twitter EBITDA profitable today and could be cash flow positive starting Q2 of 2023. But he also specifically said, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Actually, one of the first businesses I was going to start was raising chickens and specifically hatching chickens. I never got to it, but I knew quite a bit about that, including like the humidity that you have to have for the chickens to hatch better, things like that. Currently, Twitter has 130 million human hours per day, and that generates about 5 cents per hour. Goal is to 4x that. Twitter also cut cloud spending, and Twitter went from 3 data centers to just 2 now. Elon wants Twitter to be the biggest financial institution in the world. He says that PayPal right now is like maybe not even 50% finished compared to what he wants to do. Also, what I found really interesting is that Elon is saying that Starlink internet actually is probably going to be faster for many people than a fiber solution, because data can flow faster basically, and there's less distance if you have a connection to the satellite instead of let's say, having data go through a cable from Europe to, let's say, Vancouver here in Canada. I didn't know that you can have lower latency, but latency is very important part here. So that interview I found pretty interesting, and you may watch it right here. If you haven't, definitely watch it. At least the first 3 minutes. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch the first 3 minutes. I actually pulled some highlights. Support the channel on Patreon if you'd like to do that, and I'll see you in the next video right here. Thank you so much for watching.